I have been inside of plank purgatory for 33 days now. Today is another 15-minute of plank, another 15 sets of 1-minute plank. Keeping it very simple, keeping it easy. I had this thought today. The plank is quite a good test of general fitness. That's the only way I could really phrase that. I've been talking about this the past few days. I've been talking about the fact that a lot of the plank is willpower. There is quite a bit of form involved, technique. There is quite a bit of your environment that's involved. Of course, if you're going to slip around, you're not going to be planking for too long. And there's also this element of willpower, of the mental, right? The mind. And today, just while planking, I thought about this. Whatever I do in terms of my fitness in general is likely to yield to a better plank for the most part. Now, there are some exceptions, but I'm sure there are. I can't think of any right now. So maybe there aren't any exceptions. Maybe it's all good for the plank. If you work on your abs, of course that's going to help you with the plank. Your abs are going to be stronger. If you work on basically anything else, let's just say weightlifting, you are working on your willpower. You are being consistent. You're showing dedication to something. You're showing determination in doing something, in working towards a certain goal. And from what I believe, from what I've seen, oh, hello, cat. 1 second. From what I've seen, this will also help the plank. Even if I'm running takes a bit of dedication, a bit of determination, right? It takes some willpower to keep running. It takes some willpower to not stop. It takes some willpower to keep running when your stomach hurts and you don't want to run anymore and you want to stop. It takes some willpower to get through the run. And as you do that consistently, you're going to build up that willpower muscle, and you're going to get better at planking. Everything fitness related seems to apply indirectly or directly towards the plank. Some things more directly, of course. If you're going to be doing a circuit, like a lot of movements, if you're going to be doing calisthenics, these things are going to be definitely good for the plank. If you are doing, let's say, cardio requires a bit of willpower. Maybe you like it. If you like it, then maybe it's actually not doing much, but still you're improving your general level of fitness, and thus you're probably helping your plank. I just thought about this today. So it seems kind of silly to specifically work on the plank when almost everything you can do will also be working on the plank, at least indirectly, at the very least. And at the same time, the only way you can really understand the form of the plank, the only way you can learn the technique is through practice, through application. And maybe that's what takes time. Or maybe it doesn't. Honestly, kids do planks in elementary school, middle school, high school. Athletes do planks. I've never seen anyone talk about the form, ever. It's always on your toes and your elbows. That's the plank. Toes and elbows. Don't let your hips drop. Don't stick your butt in the air. And that's it. That's the whole plank. That's as far as I've heard anyone talk about it. But there's quite a bit to it, in fact. It's all about the arch. It's all about how quality of an arch you can create. How stable can you create a system? It's weird because it doesn't feel stable. Maybe that means I'm doing it wrong. It probably does. When I watch Josef Salik, the plank world record holder, hold a plank, that looks stable. That looks solid. He does this thing where he will round his back and it makes like the top of the arch, and while he's planking he will straighten his back and then he'll round it again, like he's adjusting his technique. I've been thinking about that and I've been trying to do that, but when I've been trying to actually move my back and make an arch shape, it feels harder. It feels harder to plank. Maybe I'm onto something though. Maybe something about the way that the proper plank form is not comfortable. Maybe that's all it is. I don't think it's unlikely that I have ingrained some bad habits planking over the years. That sounds silly to me, but I mean it. I think it's quite likely that because I've had no guidance, no explanation, how do you hold a plank? I just did what kind of felt right, and so I ended up with a subpar planking form. As you practice, you will get better. This is something that you could see in basically any field of life. Specifically, I see this all the time with fitness. You could see this with anybody, really. Think about track and field. No one teaches you how to run. Really. They don't really do it, right? They explain it, but no one ever says lift your foot this much, put it behind you this much. Everyone kind of has their own way of running, and we basically each have to make the best of what we've got. Everyone's genetics are a little bit different. The dynamics of our bodies move a little bit differently. And so, everyone's run, everyone's gait looks a little bit different. And the more you practice, the more you can refine it. At the same time, with a coach, you can become more efficient, or through self-reflection. It's much harder to do that, but in the modern age with video cameras and the internet, you can learn how to do things quite well on your own. The same is true for martial arts. I know this firsthand. I practice martial arts now. I practice Muay Thai, I practice boxing, kickboxing, wrestling. I had a heavy bag in my garage for a long time. I still have it. You could see it in my other videos. I had this heavy bag. I have this heavy bag, and I would just wail on it. I would just punch it, however felt right, however I wanted to. Sometimes I would try to replicate a fighter or a anime character or a move that I saw or someone doing in a street fight. I try to replicate things I've seen, or I would just go off of instinct. And doing that, just hitting the heavy bag, I've ingrained some really bad habits over the years. Habits like lifting my chin up, habits like dropping my hands, things that you don't want to be doing when you're practicing martial arts or if you're training to be a fighter. And this seems to be true for just about everything. In sports, it's very common. It's very common that people will just do whatever feels right, even if it's not technically wrong. Or not technically right, excuse me. They'll just do what feels right. And you can't really talk people out of that. People will do what feels right. People will work with their bodies to try to do the best they can. And oftentimes, we don't have guidance. Oftentimes, the guidance we have is not maybe sufficient in correcting all of our flaws, and that makes sense. That's totally fine. Oftentimes, we will ingrain some bad habits. In weightlifting as well, people have awful form, people get injured all the time. With the plank, I still have no clue what I'm doing. 33 days in. All I know is if I keep working on this, I will get better. If I keep practicing, if I keep pursuing other fields of fitness, the running I've been doing is going to harden my will. It's gonna make my willpower stronger. I'm not gonna want to quit as easily. The weightlifting I'm doing is going to physically make my muscles stronger. The martial arts I'm doing are going to improve my cardio, improve my will, my determination. Overall, it should be good for the plank. And yet, I am not sure specifically how to get better at planking. I'm not sure what I could do with my form. I'm not sure what way is right. I'm just not sure. The only way to really test it is, honestly, and I hate saying this, planks to failure. Long planks. That's the only way to test it. That's the only way to find out what is good form, what is bad form, what can I do for a long time, what will tire me out immediately. That's the only way. Just try. Plank until you can't, and maybe you'll learn something. This has been Plank Purgatory Day 33. Goodbye.